What is up, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care, also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization, and being part of that collaboration last year, reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Good morning, Mr. Knight. You're on mute, my brother.
Yes.
There we go.
Good day. And just as I was getting so excited about spring, today I'm seeing the showers are going to be coming, but it shall not deter me. For those that don't know who I am, my name is Ryan Knight. I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, figuring out what stage they're in today, and then helping them create a blueprint to grow their companies exponentially. And I'm an entrepreneur myself. I run a company called Detailing Nights. So we go to people's houses, their offices, clean their cars on the spot without water, and our eco-friendly car cleaning supplies. And the training is starting May 7th. So it's the last week to register.
Countdown.
Yes, next week, Monday, is our info session, and then training starts that Saturday. So if you know somebody that's looking for a job this summer, please get them in contact with me. Would love to, see if entrepreneurship is in their blood.
All right. Well, before we go any further, just want to tell people that today's episode of The Morning Vibe is brought by the McMillan Group. They are sponsoring this wonderful episode, and they provide mortgage solutions one client at a time since 1999, buying, refinancing, or investing. You can call them at 905-813-4354 or visit the McMillanGroupInc.com, and they offer mortgages in Ontario under agent license M17002019. So sponsored by the McMillan Group. Thank you so much for their commitment and their sponsorship of the Morning Vibe. And we've got that up. There we go. And also just want to make sure people know that you can just a little bit there, the website, and also they have a toll-free number at 1-866-883-0885. All right. What's been going on, Mr. Knight?
So a lot of great feedback from our guest last week that was digging
on Friday.
Data. So if you missed the interview with Cleophas Justine Pierre, Dr. Pierre, definitely go and check that out. And again, I feel like the momentum of the Morning Vibe is a place that doesn't exist anywhere else. Two Black men just chatting it up and really giving a perspective on what's happening in the Black community. I think it's needed, and the audience is sharing that same sentiment.
Yeah, I want to say that too, but Dr. Pierre called me on Saturday and he had me on the phone for like 45 minutes.
Yes.
He was going, oh, thank you so much. And I got like 20 phone calls. The hits on our website that day went through the roof, And
yes.
So we're actually talking about some collaboration with his organization.
Nice.
So we'll keep you up to date on that. And it's a great feeling. This is the result of persistency with Ryan and myself. Like even today, even before we went live, Farley Flex was already in the room. He was he's saying, Farley. This is what he mentions. Good morning, gentlemen. If it's true, the early bird gets the worm. Please provide my price for it. So yeah, so it's really great, and we just do this to make sure that you keep informed, and you have a safe and brave space to provide your thoughts, comments on things that are relevant to Black Canadians. Again, last Friday's conversation was like fantastic, and that's another thing too. We want to open people's eyes and have people on the platform who you may not know of who are doing great things. Like I'm seeing already the number of people that are watching. This is cray in a good way. It's been a good way. What were you up to on the weekend, by the way?
Yeah, just more training. A friend of ours, they're doing their baptism for their daughter, Phoenix. So shout out to Keisha and the family. But yeah, we were visiting the grandparents and training up some new detailing nights. So it was an exciting weekend. How about you? I saw there was
Are we going to get a spring?
I'm telling you, I'm not letting this initial rain shower that's supposed to be coming today and tomorrow deter me. Spring is on the horizon. I feel it.
But, we haven't had 3 days of nice weather. It's been like, was it yesterday? Yesterday was nice, and now today it's like cloudy, and the temperature's going to go down. It's like a roller coaster. It's an old song by a group called the Ohio Players, Roller Coaster of Love. Roller coaster. I'm not going to sing it. So people who know that song, you can sing it. I only sing in the shower by myself and in the car by myself. So that's what's going on. So
that's great. You had a pretty in-depth conversation on Sunday. How did that go?
Well, nice. Yeah, very good media. My media mentor, very good. Yeah, we had an epic conversation yesterday with L. Jones, Cesar Ndima Musa, and also Roger Dundas. He's a co-founder and publisher of BuyBlacks.com, Black Canada's #1 online magazine. And I'm going to encourage people to watch that too, especially L. Jones. She was on fire. The first 20 minutes, she took the first 20 minutes, and it was not a wasted 20 minutes.
Yes.
It was deep. It was on it. It was fire. And after she said, okay, I'll get off. I've given my TED Talk. Okay, thank you. Yes. I was going to say to Elle, TED Talks, they only allowed you 12 minutes, but we're Black TEDx. So
every so often, let the soapbox out. And
she was fantastic. Cesar was good, and Roger was good. And she actually said too, I'm humbled that she complimented me and saying, Dr. Vibe, thank you for providing these platforms where we can express our opinions and views. We may not always agree with each other, but it's done in respect. Yes. So I was really humbled to get those kind words from L. Jones. So it was really, really nice to hear. We got people jumping in already. Good morning, Tim Frey. Thank you for support. I know this lady. Ryan, you may know her better. And good morning, Christopher Lawrence. Thank you so much. And Christopher, I hope you've caught the replay of yesterday. You came in late with yesterday's conversation, but please check out the replay. I really want to encourage it, especially, all the conversations, but especially yesterday and last Fridays. If you get a chance, wherever you're watching this, Facebook and YouTube. I don't know if they do replays. They post the replays on LinkedIn, but hey, no problem. And Christopher's saying it was a great show. Yeah, yesterday. Yeah. Well, I hope all of them I do are great. I want them all to be epic. I don't want them to be great. I want them to be epic. We're rambling. We've got a new friend on here today. So Ryan, I'll let you do the introductions.
Yeah. And for those that get our newsletter, we put out the question, is Black leadership leading us in the right direction? And an article that I read, a friend of mine, I consider him a mentor, Andrew Bromfield, had posted on LinkedIn.
Andrew's a great guy.
And the title was of the article is "Winter is Coming to the Black North." And so initially,
let me interrupt you. Winter is coming, the peril of the Black North.
And I was like, oh, is he talking about just Canada in general, the Black North? But then I started reading the article, and it was specific to the Black North Initiative. But what was deeper in the article was really the the peril of Black leadership in general. And when we, I guess, deem certain Black leaders in the Black community, are they actually taking us down the right path? And when do we actually get time to analyze where we're going and are we on the right direction? So the gentleman that is the author of the article, Perry Douglas, reached out. He said, listen, this is really important. Are you available to come on the show? He was gracious and said, yeah, listen, I have time and I'll be able to hop on and dig deeper. I feel like let's continue this conversation because it's so important. So thank you so much, Mr. Douglas, for joining us.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys having me on. Looks like a great show.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule. Before we get into the article, Black leadership, etc., can you just share a little bit of your background with our audience, our family, by the way?
Yeah, sure. I mean, how far back do you want me to go?
Hey, but let's go to the. Well, you weren't a stork, so let's go back to the beginning. All right.
The beginning. Well, I come from the wonderful island of spice, Grenada, and like everybody else, I'm sure, in the Caribbean, my mother took me with my grandmother, as my grandmother says, and brought me to Canada. I grew up in Montreal, Montreal, Quebec. High school there. I went to McGill University there. And I met my wife, my lovely wife, Petal, during university. And, from there, after university, I graduated. I went into the investment business. I started with RBC Dominion Securities. And from there, I went to AIC and worked with billionaire investor Michael E. Chin. After that, I went to UBS, left UBS, started Impact Capital with a couple of my good friends and investors, and built a few businesses. And now, Impact Capital essentially is an investment company, and Douglas Blackwell now is where the company that I'm putting all the time into. So I got 3 wonderful kids. My oldest is Alexandra. She's an artist, beautiful person. My son Nathan, smart, accomplished young man, great athlete, and my youngest daughter Asia, who's on her way to university in the fall. And I have to hype up my daughter. She's the 9-time Canadian judo national champion, Pan Am, junior Pan American gold medalist, and also silver medal Pan Am. And she's the all-time winning in Canadian judo. And she's on her way to McGill University too. Actually, my son goes to McGill too. So there you go.
Wonderful.
Your family don't play. Your family don't play.
I tell you, man. I tell you.
It sounds like you raised a bodyguard with that lady who's done so well accomplished-wise.
She's just a champion through and through, both sports-wise and academically. And I'm very proud of all 3 of my children. That's the most important thing in my universe right now. My kids.
We already have a question. What's the name of that investment company again?
Impact Capital.
Okay, no problem. Let's have an opening conversation. How long has Black leadership been a concern to you?
Oh, excellent question. Excellent question. It's been a concern to me for a while now. And, with my background and my training in the investment business, leadership and vision has always been paramount to everything. So when, you can have the operational side, you can have, the strategy, but you need quality vision and you need quality leadership. So, it's always been important to me. But I think after the George Floyd incident, and I saw, what was happening, it became even more important in terms of how we need, great leadership. And great leadership is, very difficult. I mean, there's so many Mandelas, and for me, great leaders are Mandela, King, Malcolm X. Muhammad Ali, who's my all-time, famous leader. And we haven't had those caliber of people, for a while. However, leadership is also internal, right? We all have to be our own leaders within the universe. And after the George Floyd incident, I saw all these reactionary, highly emotional things happen. Everybody just jumping on things without careful consideration. So I'm a student of history, and a friend of mine who works with me calls me a tech historian, right? The thing with history has all the answers, right? It has all the answers, but you have to pay attention to history, and you have to pay attention to information, and you have to learn to connect the dots. We continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. And the core situation in terms of why leadership is so important to me is Black people in general, we tend to make decisions more on emotion than on logic and intellect. And for me, as these people pop up, we have to analyze everything to see if we're doing the right thing.
Okay. I want to go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I was curious because that was my first question. Is like, what does good leadership actually look like to you, like in your perspective? And you touched on it there, but then I'm curious, what does good leadership, or I would say great leadership, look like when we take into account history? And you talked about us repeating mistakes that we made in the past. So how can we use history to really develop proper leadership in our community?
What does great leadership look like? Great leadership is authentic, right? Muhammad Ali was authentic. And great leadership are people who looks at things and sees some things and not afraid to say, hey, there's something wrong with this, or this is what I believe. And good leadership is about the analysis, the problem solving, helping people, empathy, right? Not about yourself, not about what you can do, okay? Good leadership is about essentially change. My aunt, who passed away a little while ago, she has the Claudia Douglas. She got the Order of Canada, and her Order of Canada. And I'm trying to remember what she said. But I wrote an article about it. She said that leadership is about working to change the lives and the systems of what people, in terms of what people live under, to better themselves. I kind of butchered it, but my aunt is accomplished. She won the Order of Canada, and she's a leader. And that's what good leadership is about: being authentic and making it about your community and helping people as opposed to yourself.
Okay. Well, I know people are wanting to dig into the articles, so we won't want to keep them. We want to get a little background from you first, but obviously we want to get your thoughts. So let's get a little background on your article, which is here, people. Winter is coming, the peril of the Black North. If you can find it on Medium, I'll be putting the link up in just a moment. Why did you write the article?
Great question. I wrote the article because I have, I must say, Andrew Bromfield, if you know Andrew, Andrew is a warrior. He's as real as it gets. And we have these conversations, and then I get many different entrepreneurs calling me and complaining and saying, look what's happening here. They're making us look like victims. And Andrew, one of the entrepreneurs told me a story how they went into a major corporation and, basically to sell their software. And long story short, the people around the boardroom table are not looking at him as a smart, software engineer with something to sell that, that's competitive. And they started talking about, in a very paternalistic way, what about some of the, why don't you look at, maybe work with the Black North Initiative, or why don't you look at some of the loans that the government of Canada is giving out and stuff like that. So what the point is, people have started, to look at, creating two streams, as I call it: the real world stream, how entrepreneurship happens, how wealth is created, and somehow created an emotional alternative stream just for Black people, which doesn't work and has no basis in reality. From a historical perspective, you have to understand we live in a universe that's real. What you think or what you believe is of little consequence. The only thing of consequence is what's real. And if you are behaving and acting on things that are not real, then you're just hallucinating, okay? And you're not going to achieve anything. So what's important to me is reality and understanding what's real and what's not. So I don't know if that kind of enters, explains it, but a lot of entrepreneurs call me and are complaining. So I'm like, you know what, guys, you know me, I'm not afraid to speak my mind. So I started thinking about this. I started digging into the different, things that are around. And let me just say off the bat, this is not about anything personal about West Hall or the Black North. Okay. What this is about the analysis. Okay. And analyzing things, and things must stand up to scrutiny. And we have to figure out if they work or if they don't. We can't survive in the universe, right, on emotion. We have to survive based on factual analysis, okay, and self-preservation, okay? Self-preservation is the fundamental aspect of human survival. You must first survive before you can thrive.
Right.
And I was curious around that analysis piece, because that's something, and even for myself, I run a nonprofit, the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, and at times you have to be able to look at, okay, what did we say we're going to do, and did we actually achieve that? But when we do that on a broader Black, I'll say, ecosystem, people get really defensive when you point out, like, hey, these are the things that aren't working. And we've seen that, like the backlash with me talking about face and the stories out there. So I'm curious, how have you seen, or what could we do to analyze what organizations and Black leaders are actually doing? I know we had like Errol Gibbs come on, he talked about we need a scorecard for Black History Month. What kind of ideas would you have to really analyze?
So for me, my kids call me a nerd, a math nerd, but the university is about math, right? And so for me, what I've created, mainly, in my business practice is called applied intelligence. Applied intelligence is a framework on how to make decisions, right? So, there's an equation. I have an equation for it. I have an algorithm, for it. But applied intelligence, I call it AP3, is a framework for us to make decisions in a non-emotional state of existence. The problem is we make decisions in too much of an emotional state of existence. And we all know emotion is not logic. The universe does not work on nature nature works on math, right? Not on emotion. So if you're driving decisions based on emotion, okay, you're gonna make the wrong decisions. And I don't know. You brought up something about face there. I don't know. The argument that you had with them or whatever it is. But I'm going to tell you this. I've seen a little bit about them. I heard a little bit about them. If you think about the illogical circumstance of a nonprofit organization, right, in the leadership position in making entrepreneurship loans, right? It's crazy. It does not make any sense. How can a nonprofit, think about this for a second. How can a nonprofit organization set up by the government, selected by the government, right, make decisions on entrepreneurship and wealth creation when they have no experience in entrepreneurship and wealth creation? This is my fundamental problem, where Black people need to stop and think. Remove your emotion and think logically, intellectually, okay? Apply intelligence and think about the rest of the world is creating wealth, right? Through venture capital, right? Through venture capital. How do you think Facebook came together? How do you think, all these companies in Silicon Valley, guys with no revenue becoming billionaires overnight? How do you think? Venture capital. But in wisdom, the government of Canada is going to say, we're going to give you guys loans, okay? Give you guys loans, for entrepreneurship, Okay, while the rest of the universe works on venture capital. There's no historical data and evidence that tells you that works. Evidence tells you it doesn't work. So if the rest of the world is getting rich and creating wealth for their families and communities based on entrepreneurship, intellectual capital, right, IP creation, what the hell are we doing with doing loans? We're not thinking. We're not applying intelligence. We don't have a framework for analysis. So our decisions are highly emotional and continue to be wrong. And that's why we're left at the bottom rungs of the universe from a globalization perspective and wealth creation. We are not on the wealth curve. And we don't even range the wealth curve.
I just want to cut in because the comments are coming like crazy and I want to give them in as much in real time as possible. So the naked property with Asai, good morning, gentlemen. Glad to see you. What a blessing. Thank you to each of you being settlement in our community. Blessings, Asai Cohen. Also, Yvonne is saying, good morning. So good to see black men talking together, sharing ideas and not competing. Yvonne, Perry's cousin. There you go. Janet, good morning, Dr. Vi. This will go down as the best interview you've done. Okay. Myself and Ryan do them, by the way. I just read his article and he's bang on correct. Leadership and focus driven leaders are missing. Well said. Macmillan Group, sponsor for today. Good morning, gentlemen. Quote, history has all the answers. If we could just get our folks to understand that. Nanny's saying, greetings, everyone. Glad to tune in. Janet says, great leadership is egoless, someone who is willing to go the last mile for their people, not afraid to die for the cause. Pause. A lot of times elders are the gatekeepers, me being an elder as well, and we don't let the youth offer a perspective on how they think things can be fixed. Historically, youth have been on the front line, but youth can also be reckless. Farley is saying, my observation is that founders are not necessarily leaders. Perry's notion about emotion over logic is bang on. And then this is crazy. Just going on. We have to be the author of our own solutions. Necessity is the mother of invention for a reason. We need to take risk with the talent capable of making the difference. You got a fan call going on here. Tim say amen. Perry. Oh, someone is saying that's unfair. The founders of FaZe are successful entrepreneurs. A nonprofit is a business, and they have won the opportunity to manage a fund. Do you want to respond to that?
Sure, that's completely wrong. That what you're saying there inherently. How can a nonprofit be entrepreneurial? And if they're entrepreneurial, why? It's logically what the person is saying is fundamentally wrong. You are now not independent. You are now set up by the government. You are a nonprofit. It's either your profit or your nonprofit, right? We can't stand in the middle. And this is the fundamental problem. We fall for things like FaZe, okay, because we don't pay attention to what's actually happening in the universe and how actually wealth is created. So you can say what you like, but the evidence does not support what you're saying. And the reality of what's happening now in terms of how people get rich and how wealth is being created is in no way, if we could bring successful businesses through nonprofits, we would be doing it. We'd be doing it. Okay. You can't do it with charity. You can't do it when the government is in control. You can't do it when the government is selecting FaZe for political reasons. Okay. Let's keep it real. Okay. You want to be an entrepreneur? Jump into venture capital. Okay. Not nonprofit. And worst thing is loans. Okay. You create equity by venture capital. That's how it's going. That's how it is. So you show me via evidence what I'm saying is incorrect. Sorry, and then we can maybe talk. I have no problem in if I'm incorrect. My wife tells me that all the time. She's usually right all the time. So I'm wrong a lot. I'm wrong.
Yeah. So you married up, right?
Yes, I married up. Yeah.
Well, and that's the big piece where a lot of times when we become, we're analyzing what's been happening and people use emotion to defend the actual data. And a lot of times, like you said, if you bring me the data that shows me what was put in place is working, yes, I'm with you. Like, I'm a fan. Yes. But if it's not working, I have to be against you. I can't. I can't endorse things that
Correct.
are taking business owners down the wrong path.
Correct.
And that's where I feel like you're saying, the data has to be our guide.
Correct. And this whole thing, again, I'm not picking on Face. I don't really know them too much, but the whole thing of how Face came into creation and all these things came in was the emotional response by the Liberal government, okay, after George Floyd. Everybody was throwing and sticking things to the wall. It was not considered. It was not analyzed on what's in the best interest of Black people. It was an emotional thing by the Liberal government. Let's face it, okay? It's a political decision, okay, to get votes within the community. And you can't blame Trudeau for that. He's a politician, okay? You're the one who has to be responsible for yourself. The government is not responsible for you. So what happened now is the government of Canada made an emotional reaction, okay? And remember, if you know anything about economics, the problem with economics is run by politics. Economic decisions are made by political decisions, right? So economics is not pure, okay? Economics fundamentally, economic policy is made through political policy. So the economics in itself is fully corrupt, right? So again, the government made an emotional decision, and everybody and their mother, wanted to get government grants and government loans. But you know what? There's historical evidence in the 80s out of the US, where I have the analysis. A lot of these programs fail and fail miserably, okay? And there's also a professor at McGill University, boy, I forget her name, Black professor out of the US, we've spoken, and she has done some work on diversity and whatnot. And the evidence shows that all these particular programs are harmful because what it does, it actually pulls Black people out of the mainstream, right? It creates an alternative universe that does not exist in reality. What happens is we need to be into the mainstream. If we're in a business, we need to sell to all people. You don't need to sell to Black people, okay? I don't know how many Black Canadians exist in Canada, but I know there's 40 million Canadians. And then if you're online, you have a business platform, you can sell to the world, right? That's where your business has to go, right? You can't be internal looking. You have to be external looking. You have to exist in the real world. You have to exist in the mainstream. You have to compete in the mainstream, right? There is no alternative universe for Black people to make us feel good. We have to stand and deliver for your family every day and compete because we are capable. What these programs say is that we're incapable. We need help. Okay, don't be telling me I need help or what. Don't tell my son, my daughter that they need help. Where I come from in Grenada, on my side, I'm just going to give you quickly, right? My grandmother and grandfather were entrepreneurs. They started a bakery. They started a gas station. 12 brothers and sisters. Majority of them went to university in London School of Economics. Their PhD went to McGill, PhDs. They sent them. You know why? Because they knew what they needed to do to educate their family. And you know what? In my family, I'm probably in the lower end. There's some high performers in our family, okay? But that's the mentality our grandparents set for us, right? So I only know that. I don't know anything except I am capable. I try to educate myself. I try to read. I try to gain knowledge, and I compete in the universe. No one's going to tell me I'm lesser. But what happens in our community, we create a sense of victimhood. We make ourselves victim. We become highly emotional, and we talk ourselves into not succeeding. Okay? We construct the hallucination in our minds of the universe different from what it is. Okay? As I said in the beginning, the sun, not the earth, is at the center of the universe. Reality is always dominant. And when you try to go against reality, you're going to have a problem. And we have to understand reality in the construct of consciousness and how you make decisions. And you have to make decisions in reality in the construct of understanding consciousness in terms of making proper, intellectually logic-focused decisions and stay away from emotion. Emotion is not going to help you.
Okay. I'm going to have to take control of this conversation because the comments are flying. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to catch up on some of the comments. There's a number of questions for you. So this is the way I'm going to propose to do it. I'm going to catch up on comments. Then we're going to get we'll ask you a few questions about the articles because we haven't gotten near the article. We haven't gotten near the article yet. We may have to have you back on a part 2, but let's see where we can go with this. And I know people have questions. We're going to try our absolute best to get all your questions asked and answered. If not, we may have to have Mr. Douglas in for a part 2 if he has the time. Hopefully he'll make the time. Okay, comments start flying. Marlon says, Perry, Andrew, and I spoke about this in private. Often glad to have shared it with the community. Farley saying the issue with Black leadership in this country is the issue of, quote, siloism, unquote. Any comments to that?
Oh, that's, you know what? Farley is bang on. That's what it is, because we exist in silos and everybody's trying to do it for their own profile, for their own selves. Look what I'm doing. You know, because I'm a successful entrepreneur, I should lead. No. Farley Flex is bang on. We exist in silos. We can't succeed in silos. We have to succeed together, right? When we put ourselves in silos, we're easier to defeat. We have to put our ego aside, okay, and start working with each other. Now, I may be the guy who has, let's say, a vision, but I need the software engineer. I need the person with let's say a legal mind. I need the person who has the capital. Everybody can play a role in the advancements of our people. And Farley is right. As long as we exist in silos, that's where we'll stay.
Okay, good stuff. Paz says nonprofits make huge profits by loopholes. IPTV saying it would be good to see both these gentlemen on for a conversation, both Perry and Wes. I'll try to work.
I'll be up for that.
I'll try to do that.
I'll be up for that.
Next up, Marlon, loans as opposed to incentives to use capital would have been a much better solution. Farley is saying 100% unqualified leaders. Andrew saying 100%. The government programs were introduced to secure the Black vote ahead of a return to Parliament after the PM procure. I can't. Yeah, thank you. I'm not a political hack.
Okay.
Let me just say, Robert Small, haven't heard from you in a while. The problems mentioned are correct, but emotion is valuable when you're informed about Black empowerment rather than personal empowerment. Most, if not all of these, quote, leaders, unquote, have absolutely no track record of successfully working in the Black community. We can take advantage of, quote, emotional reactions by, I think his word count ran out. Then there's, Christopher saying, has anyone heard of Futurepreneur? Does anyone know their business structure, for profit or not for profit? Ryan, do you know that at all?
I believe they're a non-for-profit, and they also have a Black entrepreneurship loan program. But
yes, they do, led by a lady. I don't remember her name. I've reached out to her.
Mona Lisa.
I've reached out to see if she'll come on the conversation. Plus, I agree. A lot of nonprofits rely on charitable donations, but they also make lots of money. I don't even know why they call it nonprofits when those organizations make plenty of money.
Yeah. If I touch on that just real quick,
sure.
Because they're structured as a nonprofit, it affects their intention. So their intention is not to make profit. It's to get money to use it on programs, and then they go out and get more money. So that's where it's important, if you decide if you're a nonprofit or for-profit, what your intentions of operations are going to be. I don't care if you want to
comment on that, because here's the problem, right? Here's the big distraction with the nonprofits. How do you measure the impact of a nonprofit? You know how wealth is created? Okay, wealth is created like this. Wealth is created where you have successful entrepreneurs who make a lot of money, okay? And then guess what? Their kids, okay, get money to go to universities, get money to start businesses, right? They create networks where they start investing in each other, okay? And they create wealth within that community. Then what they do, like in the Jewish community, let's be real, then they set up big community centers. And in those community centers, the Jewish kids get free tutoring, right? They get free this, they get free that to help themselves, okay? But all of that is created by wealth. Wealth is what creates the opportunity. Nonprofits has 15 directors getting $100,000 plus salaries. Okay, but I need you to measure the impact. The problem is people say things, but they don't come with the evidence to measure if it's true or not. So what I'm saying to you is, if you take the time to, don't have to listen to my analysis, take the time to measure and do the analysis, and you'll find it's not true what you're saying. So you think what you're saying is true, but it's not supported by any evidence. And that's the point about separation in emotion from analysis. Let's do the analysis, because we will continue to make mistakes based on emotion. But the universe is not based on emotion. The universe is based on math. Nature is math, right? And what math does, math is something that measures things, right? You have to do the math. That's what I'm telling my kids, to do the math. I keep telling them that, do the math. Calculus, calculus is something that was created to measure things. How do we get from here to there? There's a calculus there. The old differential equation. That's what math is about. It's a series of small steps that you can measure along the way to see if you're right to ultimately get there. But we continue to take these steps, and we're continuously wrong, and we don't know we're wrong, and we keep going in the wrong direction. You cannot be afraid to analyze yourself. You cannot be afraid to analyze what's happening, because we are looking to do the right thing. We're looking to succeed, but you can't succeed by closing your ears and say, la, 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 I'm going to go on forever. That's just insanity, right? And we can't exist as a people with this constructs of hallucination that don't exist in reality. That's really all I'm saying. So they can say whatever they want. Show me the evidence.
And real quick,
go ahead, Ryan.
what can be done to pull us from, I'll say, that victim path? And maybe so we have these things in place now, Black entrepreneurship loan ecosystem. Is there a way to use that to now bring us back to reality? Or do you feel we have to pull the emergency brake on these things and just reconstruct them if we're ever going to get back on the right path?
Boy, that's a epic question. I don't have, what? I'm the first to say I don't have all the answers. But here's what I think. Okay. Where we need to go is primal. Okay. We need to understand self-preservation. And we need to understand how, and I made this comment, from hunter-gatherers to sedentary societies. We have to learn how to do the things necessary to survive, right? And first you have to survive before you can thrive. And what that means is understand the value of education. Understand the value now of math and science, okay? Because we no longer live in a universe where, hard assets necessarily, building land property, is the big wealth creators. It's IP, it's intellectual property, okay? So we need to push our kids into those particular areas. The biggest thing I can tell people is that this is a long-term thing. It took us 400 years to be systematically engineered to the bottom rungs of the universe. It's not going to happen overnight. So leadership has to be about, they may not see it in their lifetime, but you have to start laying the proper foundation for success. And it comes with a thought of intergenerational wealth creation. And that starts with, that starts with Black men in the house, in the families, personal responsibility. Okay. And I think I touched that in the article. Black women have been pulling the load for too long. Right. Okay. We have to be honest with ourselves and being responsible for ourselves, and be responsible for our kids and being there. We need to form a base.
So Perry, I'm going to cut you. I'm going to ask you a question right now. Will you come back? Mm-hmm. Because we're not even going to get near the article today, because just with the amount of comments and questions and everyone who's watching this live, we're going to try to get to all your questions, but I'm going to get through as much as I can, because We have to probably finish off at the top of the hour unless you want to continue on. I know, Ryan, you have to leave at the top of the hour. I don't know what your time commitment is, Perry. It's up to you.
I mean, I'm good on top of the hour, I guess, but I can come back, whatever.
Or are you busy on Friday? Let's just continue the conversation if you're not busy. But
yes, 100%. I'm there for you guys. Yeah.
Okay, so Friday we're gonna have a part 2. So let's see what we can do as much as possible with the rest of the conversation today. So let's see. There's questions. So Pasta saying the NFL was considered a not-profit, makes more money than God. Let's see. Farley again is saying evidence-based logic is mandatory. This episode dovetails back to last week's discussion on data collection. There's no precedence without evidence.
Correct.
Next up we have, I agree, though, we are highly emotional. Next up we've got Andrew. 100%. These programs kneecap us mentally by turning us into emotional beggars. We must break the cycle and keep that victimhood mindset away from our youth. I love an episode where the audience just takes over the conversation. Robert says, I agree with what is being said, but we can't feel our contribution is criticizing, quote, Black leaders, unquote, but be one. With respect, what initiative program is Mr. Douglas presently working on that can pragmatically affecting the Black community now that the people online can support? Are you working on something?
So let me hear. This is the fundamental problem here. So what he's saying is, let me just leave that question on there. What he's saying here is the adherence to emotion. He's feeling bad. You can't, and we get into the trap of being monotheistic. We can't criticize our Black leaders or whatnot. So what he's saying is fundamentally wrong. What I'm doing is I'm trying to create wealth, right? And I'm trying to create wealth, and I have other partners, so other Black men in the community, who have invested real money and doing real things, right? So by creating wealth, okay, we're able to contribute directly, okay, directly. If somebody needs a scholarship, that's the thing. The problem is when you rely on an organization, what is the organization doing? We need to see what it's doing. So if you have this big organization and it's just talking, and I have a friend who has a really good quote, talk, don't cook rice. I need heat to cook rice. So so for me, I'm creating wealth. And what we're doing, what we're creating wealth is trying to help other people. And what I'm doing is I'm taking care of my family, making sure my kids get to the right schools. And if everybody would do that, we will succeed. The problem with us is we do not, the rest of the universe exists on a bottom-up process. It's bottom-up. We're doing it the opposite, which has been proven to fail, which is top-down. Top-down fails. And top-down is what, since after World War II, in the development discourse industry, as I call it, World Bank and all these things, everything is top-down. So who gets paid is the academics and the people running the organization. But the real universe works bottom-up. That's fact. That's history. That's civilization. And guess what? The Stoics told us that over 2,000 years ago, right? But we don't read. The reason why Stoicism, Aristotle, all those guys are so big today is because nothing has changed. Nothing has changed in terms of how you create wealth, how you create success. It's simple. Self-preservation, Adam Smith, personal gain. And then when that personal gain, that individualism will spread itself through the community.
All right. Let me cut you because I got to try to get as much in as possible. Sharon R. Best, On Point Perry. Kadeem Perez, 100. Janet says, my gosh, the man is telling it like it is. The Black man is riding high on emotion, not dealing with facts. And emotion is the enemy. Emotion is the enemy of our progress.
Yes. And can I comment on that point, as the woman pointed out? What has been, let's be real, let's keep it real. What has been the fundamental, description of the Black male? Highly emotionalized, right? Highly sexualized, can't control their emotion. That's what it's been. Let's go through history. They have defined us that way. But the problem is when you do not define yourself, others will define you. Okay, so I am not a highly, well, maybe now I'm a little highly, my wife will say something about that. The only person who can get me emotional, nobody else. But the point is, let's be real. We have allowed the universe to define us as highly emotional people. Okay, not suitable for the high executive position in the NFL, not suitable to be the quarterbacks. Okay, we got to change that. That's not going to happen by white people define, changing it for us. We got to change it for ourselves. If we want to be non-emotional and be successful businesses and own NFL teams, we got to behave like that. Right? So on the one hand, we can't say, we want all this, but we're not going to be intellectual and logical, and we're going to remain emotional to get it. It doesn't work. You can't be in the universe. You can't be emotional here and intellectual here and expect it to work. Choose.
More comments. Farley says 100% on participating in mainstream commerce. Perry's saying Perry's perspective is very cutting edge. He is very insightful. I'm going to have to talk to him offline about nonprofits. Paco is saying futurepreneur is legit. Paso says emotions still hold high value, though it can't be all X's and O's. Sean says, I've noted many times that we need to learn to regulate our emotions, focus on facts to move the needle forward in terms of acquiring success.
I'm curious, after that one, because the previous one where it said emotions, did they say like emotions are important and it can't be all X? I'm curious, Perry, your thoughts on where do emotions actually fit into the grand scheme of things?
So what it is, right, is we are emotional beings. We are human beings, right? So we are emotion. The idea, so it's an impossible thing. I'm not saying here, it's saying that, hey, we have to come here and we have to take away total emotion. That's not reality. Our nature, the human condition is emotional. Okay. The challenge now for us is to apply logic and intellect in decision making to get the outcomes we want. Right. So people talk about, artificial intelligence, which is, what I do. And what happens is that people say, can artificial intelligence be conscious? Can artificial intelligence start thinking? People start talking all these. No, it can't. You know why? Because artificial intelligence is not a being. When it looks out, it doesn't know why it's doing. It's programmed. But we are emotional human beings. But the trick is, or not the trick, but it's when you are looking to make a decision, you have to understand that you have to remove emotion and think logical. And that's why the whole thing about applied intelligence, you need to have a framework, okay, to remove the randomness of emotion and have an applied intelligence framework in order to make decisions. So of course not. I'm not saying we have to be emotional. We can't be anything but emotional. But the ones who can apply intelligence to decision making are the ones who are going to succeed. The ones who become a slave to emotion are going to fail. Simple as that.
Okay, let's go for. I'm going to put a note up here from right now. Perry has said he'll come back on Friday. With the amount of conversational traffic that's going on in questions, I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to make a suggestion. If you're going to come back on Friday or you want to do this, email your questions ahead of time to me. So I probably won't even get to any questions today that are in the chat. So if you have a question, even from today's chat, probably won't get answered. Just going to be, because this is a good thing. Email it to me. So when Perry comes on Friday, we can just go with questions from people that asked him today. We'll go with you first. And then any people have any questions and comments in real time on Friday, we'll deal with you after, because time does not allow, because there's about 10 questions. We would be here till tomorrow morning. So, right. So email your questions for this Friday's show with Mr. Douglas to dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And if you don't send me your questions, I have some questions about y'all. All right. Even if you can't make it here, email me your questions, because you have enough questions. Can't do everything here. We're just doing it all. So I'm going to just see if I can blow through the rest of the comments real quick, and we're going to close it up. So Marlon has said, I meant to say incentives to use capital as opposed to loans would have been a much better solution. Marlon again says, trust Farley. I was horrified when Dr. Vibe said it, so I guess he corrected himself. Farley said silos are also emotional approach. You cannot, Sean, you cannot manage what you can't measure.
Correct. Bingo.
Pause. Good points about Jewish communities. We need more of that mindset. Robert saying social service agencies do have to make measurements and do analyze their programs. White organizations get money for doing next to nothing all the time. They set that standard, actually. Patrick, nonprofit, for-profit, difference is about distribution of profits. Who gets the profit? Both make profits. Andrew Farley, do we not have VC and angel investors within the community? We should identify them and find out why they're not investing in more promising startups and established businesses.
Can I just comment?
Go ahead.
Andrew's right. I mean, I'm looking at the comments about nonprofits. Like we are like, why are we fascinated with nonprofits? This is the emotional training, okay? That we like, you know, how do I say? Maybe the white community who understands, self-preservation. They're creating the thinking in our head. Why are you so caught up on? There's no evidence talking about white nonprofits creating wealth, and why you keep talking about it? Because you've been trained that way. Because you're not independently thinking. You're not doing the analysis. You're just, I don't know, if you just go on Facebook and just read it. Don't go on Facebook to get your information. Do proper analysis. Andrew Bromfield is right. Okay, let's just take a look at it. When immigrants came here, the Italians, the Greeks, or whatnot, right? What Greek people own so many buildings? Italian people own so much land because they invested in each other and they've created wealth. And what are we doing? Focus on nonprofits. You have to do for yourselves. You can't wait on others to do for you. Where does that exist? Where I come from, the tiny island of Grenada, my grandparents didn't run around asking people to do for them. My grandmother went out, bought herself a piano, and taught the village to play. She was an entrepreneur. Okay? My grandmother, okay, Mello Douglas was an entrepreneur. That's the mental primal attitude you have to have. Stop it with running around and asking everybody else to do stuff for you. You have to learn to do for yourself. That's our problem, right?
Okay.
We can't exist as a charity. You know,
all right.
Nobel winning research that tells us charitable stuff does not work. I can bring you that research on Friday. And you can actually look it up too. The guy won Nobel research for that. So it's the facts.
All right. Family, we're gonna have to stop, and we'll get through all the comments. But that's why I said, and I apologize again. If you have any questions or comments, you can either put them on the platform that you're looking at now, but I'd rather you email me. So give me the homework to do for Friday. So if you have any email questions to email, send it to me at my email address, dr@vibeshow.com. Perry, first of all, thanks for taking the time for not being able to talk about your article. That's okay. We'll somehow get that. Actually, a very interesting comment. I'm just going to put up one more here. Robert says, cease. The hard truth is the Black upper middle class has abandoned the Black community. Sure. If we didn't have the nonprofits, we would be doomed.
He's right.
Okay, so Perry, any final words before we let you wipe your sweat off your brow? And
no, listen, I really appreciate this show. This show is so important because this show is a pure intellectual conversation. There's no fluff about it. There's no jive about it. I really commend you guys for the work you're doing because what you guys are doing is so important. We have to have conversations. We have to be able to talk about things and discuss things. And what you guys are doing is a service to the community. So you know what? That is your contribution. And I'm humbled by you guys allowing me to come on this show. You guys are doing such a fantastic job. You guys are just vibing and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well, thank
you.
You.
Appreciate that.
We appreciate it. And I can only speak for myself. It's not hard work. It's heart work.
Yes.
Agreed. Yes.
So people who want to get in contact with Perry, there's the link to the article. You can contact him via the article.
Yep.
So Perry, we will see you on Friday. Get some rest. I think you're going to need it. I think you're going to need it.
Yeah.
And we will say, and all the best to you and your family. And thanks for taking the time. And we'll take care of yourself. Remember to give yourself grace, and remember to don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And we'll see you on Friday.
Wonderful. One love, gentlemen.
Take care. Family, what a go on. Wow.
That's why Farley was in the room early.
he knew what was going on. He knew what was going on. Now, family, unfortunately, this platform, I'm going to complain to them. I have no way of saving your comments.
Oh no.
Well, maybe I can. Maybe after I'll see if I can save all the comments. But you're going to give me reading for tomorrow now. All the comments. Ryan, any thoughts before we let it all go?
As he mentioned, and I'm humbled by his comments, that saying this platform is needed to have these conversations, and really impressed by the audience, impressed by the guests. This is what I feel like is going to get us, like he said, back into reality and start moving down the right path. It won't be easy, but hey, I'm here, you're here, he's here, the audience is here to do the work. So I'm really looking forward to laying that foundation that he talked about.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and it's humbling to get the compliments from more and more people who are either coming on the platform or in the comments. We appreciate. We don't take it for granted. As I said, Friday, round 2.
Yes.
Round 2.
Looking forward to it.
Email me ahead of time so you get your questions in, because today was just out of control. People who email me, you'll get your questions answered. You try to do it live, as you saw, you may or may not get in. And as I said, I purposely really didn't go into too many questions because, how come you did that one? How come you did that one? So if I made that mistake, it's my head, not my heart. So Ryan, what's going on for the rest of this week?
So the saga continues as I journey through these Black entrepreneurship loans, and I have my meetings with each of the banks this week. We'll see who gets me to the finish line first. So, all right, I'll try and live stream some of it, but I'll report back.
Document your journey.
Yeah.
All right. So as always, you can watch replays of these epic conversations at the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube and Facebook page, the ACBN African Canadian Business Network Facebook page, and also their YouTube page or Ryan's YouTube page. Want to make a request. If you like what you're hearing, what you're seeing, subscribe. Subscribe. The way that these algorithms, and reshare it. The way these algorithms work, the more subscriptions, the more people will get notified. Better for analytics and better for us to keep on doing more. So as always, I like to close off with this. And today's been wow, it's been some kind of show. I won't say even thank you because there's too many people. Thank you all, whether you watch it live or on the replay. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And also, I just want to say again, a big thanks to the Macmillan Group who sponsored today's epic conversation. There's their website. There's their toll-free phone number. We will see you on Friday. Make sure you get some rest because you saw what already happened on Monday. So people are going to be talking for Friday. So get your questions in. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Walk good. Goodbye.